Thank you. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Today is, let me make sure I have the date correct, February 26th, a Wednesday, and we like to call the COB meeting to order at 4:06 p.m. And could we please call the roll for current members that are present?
Okay. Derek Kilgore,
Present.
Keith Rose, Jennifer Whitaker, Bradley Ortega,
Here.
Stephen Roback, Sierra Simrel,
Present.
Kristen Griffin, Harrison Sand, present.
We can add Keith Rose on there. I couldn't get my camera on in time.
So that shows 5 members present, I believe.
Oh, lucky, lucky. All right. So we do have a quorum for the meeting. So next item on the agenda will have approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
I second the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Next item is approval of January 29th, 2025 meeting minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those meeting minutes?
Yes.
Is
I
there?
have a slight correction to offer on, I think it's the top of page 2, but there was some exchange right before the commissioners, report about, whether or not, there was some quick discussion about whether or not IAD reports or some other reports could be, shared in different ways. And I remember I said I had never seen the reports that we were talking about. And there's some exchange about that it said I understood. I think I know I agreed if someone sent me a report, I will look at it and review, whatever the oversight asks, but it wasn't really reflected there properly. And also I spent some time, I was on the website looking at the 2016 the policies and procedures that are still in effect, I guess, until you have any new updated ones. And I just wanted to mention while I was mentioning this, that there are, I don't know that it was ever contemplated for those reports to be viewed, but there are sections in that about complaint intake and sharing, document administration, requests for information from sources and confidentiality that all have some at least peripheral interest. So I just wanted to throw that out. It was nice for me to go back and refresh that. And it also has some amazing standards of professional conduct. So I just wanted to throw that out. I think as we have more questions like that, we should probably go back to that document too.
Thank you. And you said you went back to 2016?
Well, that's the one that's posted on the city website. So if you go to Citizen Oversight Board, and then it has like agendas,
Yeah.
minutes, and it has documents. So when you click on documents, that's the overarching document that's posted. And I suppose, that is the document until it will, ultimately, be amended or updated or whatever will happen to it. But, sort of the living document. But that's the iteration that's posted on the city website.
Okay. So is that so? So I'm guessing from your review of that and the suggestion that potentially we should table these minutes.
I just wanted to make that edit. And if you'd like to have me make a tangible edit, I can do that and send it out if you want to table it, or else you could just approve it as amended, sort of take out that part about whatever it said that I understood. And I don't know, just say that, we should revisit this and I'll review whatever is sent or something like that.
I mean, I guess I'm kind of comfortable tabling it because I don't know what questions the other board members may have in reference to it, or if it's something that may require, I don't know if it does require a closed session for us to kind of be able to ask more in-depth questions related to it.
Yeah, as far as the meeting minutes, I don't think they're really that material. It was some kind of a new concept or a new question that just came up, and it wasn't really, addressed, but it wasn't really answered. But it just, I don't know. I tried to go back and look at the meeting again, but it wasn't posted. But
Mhm.
it just didn't really capture that conversation that we had in the open meeting.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine with tabling those. Derek, what's your thoughts with it? Because I'm fine with tabling them until we could kind of see exactly what you're talking about too.
Yeah, we can table it.
Okay, we'll table the approval of the meeting minutes from January 29th. So we'll go to the next item, which is chairperson's report. So as everyone should have received an update on the training and orientation schedule, has everyone read or received that information in reference to um, the link that was sent out, I believe, by Candace in reference to checking which dates everyone was available for, I want to say through the month of March.
I received it.
Okay.
I received it as well.
Okay. And you all are okay with those dates and the information that was communicated to you all for the orientation and stuff of that? Okay. So I'm going to see if I'm able to pop in on those days, work permitting. So we'll see, because of course I was grandfathered in. Of course, I think Brad and Steve as well. The next item, I don't believe I have any correspondence at this current time. I think my next item is the COB 2025 work plan. Answer if you could bring that up. All the board members should have received a copy of this current work plan. So this was a consolidation of the original plan that I presented during the last board meeting with additions from Harrison, Keith, Jennifer. Not sure if Derek submitted some too, but pretty much it was a collaboration of everybody's input on this actual plan. Um, of course, I wanted all the board members to have time to review this. So I'm not looking to vote on it today because we do want our council to be able to review this as well. So we can make sure that we cross all the T's and dot all the I's with this. But we did want to at least be able to kind of like go over it today. And if there were some questions in reference to it.
On the screen right now, they're showing a copy of it. Is that the most up-to-date one? I've got one that I think I got from recently that's more like just based on the big table.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a good question, Harrison. And this is not the version that was emailed. I believe I just sent the wrong work plan to Answar. So I can get the correct one and we could pull that up on the screen if you give me a minute or so here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So while we wait for the correct one to be put up on the screen, have you all had any time to review it? I know it was sent out yesterday, but I wasn't sure if you all had time to review it or if it was anything that came to mind after reviewing this one.
I have not. I'll just say that. I'm glad we're not voting on it today.
Yeah, no. I wanted everyone to make sure we had some time to be able to look at it and really make sure that everything is lining up before we decide to say, yeah, this is the one. Oh, where'd Keith go? I thought there we go. So Keith, did you have a chance to look at it at all?
I haven't looked at the newest version yet. I looked at a few as you were sending them, but not this most
Mhm.
recent one.
Okay. So Jennifer sent one that was very detailed. So that one was, I believe, the last edit that came through. So that was the one that the staff put together with the changes I think you and Harrison had. And then based off of the original I had that they added what Jennifer added to it as well.
Yeah, I've had a chance to look over it.
Okay, so what's your thoughts about the work plan?
Pretty much, I just think that we just need to get started for one. And I think
Yeah.
it's pretty, I think it's fine. It's missing a couple of items that I would like to see on it in terms of operations, how we're gonna operate in order to get this done, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was thinking about too, like outside of actual, like once the training is complete, it's like outside of that, it's like being able to set dates and stuff for when we're going to do these different things, right? That's going
Mhm.
to be the main thing of narrowing all of it down to specific dates because I think we put like months in that we would like to do these certain things,
Mhm.
but just getting down, like you said, to the nitty gritty of actually doing everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is Dr. Milan. Is this the Dr. Marlin? Is
Yes,
this the right one?
this
Okay.
is the latest update on the draft.
Okay. Oh, okay. Because the one I have, it has the I have the table too. I have the Google version of it.
Ophelia, ask Answar to scroll down on the work plan. Okay, we're going to have Answar scroll down on the work plan. You can see the task and activities. We were
Okay.
trying to combine the edits that were provided by Jennifer and also the nucleus of the work plan that was provided by Chairperson Sierra. So I did hear the comments regarding operations needs to be incorporated and dates.
Correct.
Yes. Because I know like in the time frame window we put the months, but of course, narrowing down those actual dates because even for the strengthening police accountability, that has March on there and we're about to sneeze and be in March in a moment. So
Yeah.
uh, okay. So I didn't want to spend, I guess, too much time on it, especially since all the board members haven't had the opportunity to really like review it in depth. And I believe I spoke with the commissioner in reference to potentially maybe like having a session that's not like, of course we have to document it, but like having time for us to like go over just this. Um, so then that way we can kind of narrow it down so we're not, waiting until next month to try to do it possibly, even though February is over, but at least if we could squeeze some type of session in to go over this potentially, as well as having Miss Barbara, available to be able to kind of like help us align the things to make sure we're on the right track for what the ordinance is asking for, as well as what our actual responsibilities are and how we're going to execute this. So is that
Yeah.
okay with everyone?
That's fine.
I'd
Okay,
agree
so we're
with
not
that.
going
Yeah.
okay, so we're not voting on anything. I want us to have enough time to dig into it because I know Harrison just came back from out of town and he left us here. So to give him some time as well as Keith and Derek and myself and Jennifer. And then as well as our new board member too. So because I'm sure he may have some additional input that he may want to contribute to the plan as well. So I'll go to the next item, which is the commissioner's report. So I will yield to the commissioner. Thank you, Answar, for sharing your screen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am going to identify a few things that I want to bring to your attention today. You will receive a written copy of my February report. In regards to the operating procedures, We have had several meetings internally with staff regarding the procedures as it relates to various aspects of operations, as it relates to our protocols regarding how we handle complaints. And I have been in touch with a technical writer, and I'm going to ask Answar to pull up. I wanted to show you an example of the work by Teresa Warren. Now, this is the administrative manual for the Community Development Administration, where I was a grant specialist for this department. But the report is very extensive. The table of contents that Answar is showing you right now, we won't have financial management. We probably will have some information regarding financial management, but not as extensive as the city's Community Development Administration. I did work with the technical writer. Her name is Teresa Warren. Teresa currently has 2 other city contracts as a technical writer. But I think this product will provide you an example of what we can expect to see for the Division of Civilian Oversight's operating standards procedures. We have received recommendations that were provided by Nicole Barton, and this was in consultation with John Chesnoff and also with Barbara, and from our staff with Ruby. And those are procedures that she forwarded in from 2024. So we have several different documents that we will be seeking to compile into one administrative or standard operating procedures manual. I think, Answar, you can stop the screen, but I really wanted to illustrate what the product will look like when we have this completed. And my discussion with Director Coyle today, this was one of the items that he and I discussed, and he's all for our receiving the assistance that we need in terms of a final product and our operating procedures. With my meeting with Director Coyle on today, we've discussed the 2026 budget meeting and requirements for that meeting. There is a meeting scheduled with the city budget director on March the 5th. At that meeting, I will be presenting DCO budget, and certainly there will be other budgets that will be presented that are part of the Division of Safety. One of the things I feel really good about in my conversation with the director on our budget, last year, and this is before I came on board, we had some situations in which staff have expressed concerns about safety. One of the things that we did was to have the facility manager meet with us and discuss recommendations and how we can shore up safety in our reception area. He has provided us a budget. Director Coyle is all in favor of us taking the necessary steps to get that work done. And our budget right now for 2026, which would begin in July, we are looking at a price tag of $16,000. However, the estimate that has been provided is about half of that amount. And I think that what we will do is include a contingency budget in case, as they are working on the reception area, some of the costs might be more than what the estimate has provided. We have been successful in having very good meetings as with Cincinnati. I beg your pardon. I know I'm in St. Louis. I'm not in Cincinnati. But we've been having meetings and in touch with St. Louis Metropolitan Police Division. We had a meeting that was held on February the 5th. The meeting was arranged by Captain McCloskey, who was the point person by Chief Tracy to arrange this meeting. Initially, we started that meeting on February 5th with 2 of the police officers that include, I believe his title is Colonel Lieutenant Sack and his counterpart. But before the meeting ended, we were surrounded by police officers. And by that, I mean there were representatives from Internal Affairs and Lester. Marco, what was the other division within the police department who attended that meeting?
The Force Investigative Unit responded. They sent 2 representatives. And like you said, Internal Affairs, the chief, his staff member was there. You had Major Boxstruck responded. We had quite a few command staff.
Thank you. Thank you, Marco. So we have been in touch with St. Louis Metropolitan Police District, and I know that Lieutenant Sack is seeking to arrange for us to have a meeting in March. My hope is that we can have a schedule of meetings for 2025. And with COB's work plan, I believe, I'm certain there will be some opportunity for the COB board members to interface with the St. Louis Police Department, and we will be working to make that happen. Regarding the vision statement for our office, and I don't know if we can pull this up on the screen or not, but I don't think it's necessary as I'm communicating to you right now. We did include a link to the vision statement. So I am hoping that everyone will complete and answer. There's only, I think, about 6 questions that we need you to answer. I decided that in regards to the vision statement, that the vision statement needs to involve both boards, and it also needs to involve our staff members as well. This is a participatory approach so that we have participation, that we have the best thinking by staff and board members to put together our new vision statement for the Division of Civilian Oversight. We have received notification from the city boards and commission that have provided 2 new appointees for the Detention Facilities Board. We have 2 new members who have very impressive backgrounds. One of them is a former psychiatric nurse and founder of Justice for All. And the other new member is a graduate from Washington University, Architecture and Film, and he is a fellow of the Griot Museum of Black History. Both new candidates attended the February meeting that was held on the 11th. I also want to provide information to you that I was invited by Nicole Barton to attend the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council meeting, which was held at the Civil Courts building. It was very impressive because there were probably around 25 or 30 people that were in attendance at that meeting. That included the Sheriff's Department as well. I was able to speak to our interim commissioner for the City Justice Center, Doug Burris, and talk to him about our work plan to address protocols. And he was very responsive, and actually he has provided us on a jump drive the protocols for CJC. Ruby Bonner on our staff is involved right now in looking at those protocols. And we will have a recommendation for you regarding the protocols very soon. I think in terms of my report, that is probably all that I want to report at this point in time. If you have questions for me, let me know. I don't have an update for you about the dashboard, but I can at least inform you that we do have resources available to assist us to provide a dashboard on our city website. That dashboard will feature information about complaints, the status of complaints and allegations in closed cases. So we're excited about this opportunity. It is based upon the Chicago Civilian Oversight Board and the dashboard that is featured on their website. I think that's it on my report. We do
I've
have
got-
staff members that are here that are available to answer questions as well.
I've got two questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
The first one is, were you able to talk to anyone about us getting access to the policies and procedures of the St. Louis Police Department? I know that's something we brought up last time. You said you might, I can't remember exactly what you said. You might be having a meeting with someone and you could bring it up.
We did have a meeting, and what I discovered is that their policies and procedures are on their website. They're very extensive.
They're
and-
not though. There's only, there's like section 1, 2, 8, and 11. And most of the sections are not on there. And I don't even know if there's, there could be section 33 that stops at 11. It doesn't tell you the full number of sections.
Okay, point well taken. Harrison, I'll make sure that we follow up on that and provide you more information with a goal of attaining all the policies, because I know that is part of the activities of the work plan, that the board will review those policies as well as provide recommendations regarding the policies.
And then my second question was, it sounds like you're going over budgets. I was just wondering, I know one point of contention at one point was that, according to I'm not going to use the right language here, the ordinance 71749, that
Okay.
we're supposed to have one civilian oversight investigator for every 100 commissioned police officers and every 80 corrections officers. Is that in the budget? For there to
Excuse
be
me,
that many?
can you repeat that again?
Yeah, according to the ordinance 71749, there's supposed to be one civilian oversight investigator for every 100 commissioned police officers and one for every 80 corrections officers. Is that in the budget for us to have that staff?
I'll tell you what's in the budget. We are looking to hire another legal investigator 1. In terms of the benchmarks that you reference, I'm going to have to take a look at that. I don't think we're going to have that capacity, but let me refrain from giving you a response specifically regarding those benchmarks at this time, but we'll follow up on it.
Okay. And Commissioner, I have a question. This is, I'm sorry, I'm also in a dark car. I'm in the parking lot at the Capitol because there was no Wi-Fi in the building. So earlier you were talking about a report, and I just wanted to clarify a bit. Do you have a expected timeline on when that might be available? Is question 1. And then question 2 is, can you go over a little bit on past reports that the Civilian Oversight Board or the Division of Civilian Oversight has put out? I know that there was a long gap where we didn't have any reports, and I'm in my own mind, I don't remember when the last ones were published and where they might be available.
That is a very good question. Our grant analyst on our staff is Dotlin, and she has been working on the DFOB reports as well as the COB reports. I believe that the last published report for COB was around 2019 was the last report published for COB. The report that Dotlin is providing, and Dotlin, I know you're on this meeting, will cover all the way up to 2024 and back to 2019. Since you have requested that information, I thought I saw Dotlin.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Donlin, please answer Board Member Keefe's question, please.
Okay, for COB, we have quite a bit of reports that are in draft mode. Since Dr. Mylon has joined us, she's going over those reports. She's combing them with fine-tooth comb to make sure that the reports that we're putting out represent a significant collaborative effort to ensure transparency, accountability, and continuous improvement. Focus is placed right now on the older reports that were due. Right now, I believe we might be close to the final review of the COB fourth quarter of 2023 report that ended back in December 30 of 2023. And that report will cover all the way back to 2019. It's capturing all the status and all the information that we have knowledge of that occurred with the status of those complaints that were received. So
Donlin, are you able just to share with the board a shared screen? I know it's still in draft form, but at least they will have a picture of the extensive work that's being done on the reports. Can you pull that up?
You know what? I did not, let me see if I can. Hold on. It's in Google. I have it in Google Docs.
So as Donlin's pulling that up, once the report has presented to COB, we'll also be presenting the reports to DFOB. Then with whatever recommendations you have, then we will incorporate those and the reports will be forwarded to the mayor and city alder people.
Okay, are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, this is one of the first draft report that we're currently working on. We're going through headed mode right now. This one is for report for the fourth quarter ending December 30th of 2023. Table of contents, it's 76 pages in this report. It's going to cover community outreach and education training that the staff has received and board members during the time frame, Civilian Oversight Board complaints that were received and preparation for investigation, and the quarterly reports of complaints received and a breakdown. Let me give you a brief run through of what we have so far. And this is not the final draft. Dr. Mylon is going through it to make sure that we're covering all the bases that we have that the ordinance requires us to cover. So this is our outreach efforts. These are agencies that we have organization partners with participate in presentation. This is the training information that was received up until that reporting time frame for the fourth quarter of 2023. Since no activity was happening, we went through a cleanup of preparation for investigation once we learned that we were able to proceed with the COB complaints. So these are the numbers for the fourth quarter of 2023, status of complaint letters that was sent out to complainants to ensure that we have accurate information and that they still wanted us to investigate their cases. This was a cleanup effort also of the old case management system. We were moving cases over into the new system, and we wanted to make sure that we do a cleanup effort and had current information in the new system going forward. Some of these letters were returned because the address that we had on file were not, those complainants were not at those addresses anymore. And this section is about all the complaints received so far. Quarterly breakdown of 2023, first, second, and third and fourth quarters, and a percentage breakdown. Complaints that we received in 2022. Prior to 2020, the ordinance was not effective then. So this captures from 2023 through to 2020. Those are the quarterly breakdowns with a percentage. This section captures the complaint status as of that reporting period that this report was being done. So that was the status of each quarterly complaints, the breakdown. So we're going through the accuracy of the data validation, making sure everything is as accurate as it can be. And as soon as we have an approved draft to go forward with, we'll present it to the board and it will be published on the city website. This section talks about the different allegations, the allegation breakdown for all the complaints that we received. It's from 2023 going backwards, 2023, 22.
Okay, Donlin, I don't think you need to go through the entire document, but perhaps this would be of interest right here, Donlin, where you are actually identifying what the complaints were at this particular period.
Well, the
So
allegations.
you're going to, I think, have very comprehensive information, and I just wanted to illustrate what is occurring and putting the reports together. Donlin has provided several draft reports to me, and I have responded to several draft reports. So we really are trying to fine tune it so that it is available for your review. I do want to point out that on the website, the Division of Civil Oversight webpage, under documents, that you do have information from 2016 to 2019. So the report she is providing will get us up to date with current information that will be available up to 2024. Thank you, Donlin.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. That was a really helpful answer to my question. And I'm really happy to see that you all are so far along in getting those reports done.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I was just about to ask you. I was like, I lost my spot on the agenda. I'm like, because I guess we kind of went through. I'm like, well, I guess we covered your A through D, I think.
I do want to, we need to provide information to you about our complaints and investigations right to date. And one of our staff members was out ill, but I see her at this meeting right now.
Yeah, I decided to come in because I figured you had a question that needed to be asked. If the investigator couldn't answer the question, then I would
Okay.
be able to do so.
Thank you, Louisa. You're a real trooper. Marco presented, actually, when we met with the police department, I was so pleased with our staff because we walked into the meeting and they had quantitative analysis to provide to St. Louis Police Department. Marco and our other investigators have been working on making sure our reports is current. And the other thing that we're having to do is making sure what Dotland has reviewed within CityWorks is consistent with what the investigators are seeing in the computer software program. So Marco, let me ask you to present information about the reports that you've been working on for actually you're actually up to 2025. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll ask Answar if he can pull up the Google Sheets, and I'll explain.
All right, give me 1 second.
And while he's doing that, I can explain. I can tell you that in 2024, we received 197 complaints, and within that 197 complaints, understand that we had 123 counts where complainants stated there was excessive force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, or uncivil treatment. Now, the other that's one complainant can have more than one complaint. They may have an excessive force with an abuse of authority or excessive force with the failure to investigate. So that is all encompassed in that 197 complaints that we received. Also, within that 197 complaints, we do have some duplicates. We can say it could have been a computer glitch, or maybe our complainants put the same complaint in more than once, or if two members of a household made a complaint about the same incident, it may show up, twice in our system, but only once in the review from the Metropolitan Police Department. While Answar is doing that, I'm going to see if I can't go to my screen and possibly send him the Google Sheets again. But the other major factor that we had was failure to investigate. And a lot of those complaints came from motor vehicle accidents, where the initial reports may not have been done correctly, and the complainant had contacted the officer or contacted the officer's supervisor, and the reports were not supplemented or done, the correct information entered. Let's get this set. Okay, there it is.
Is this 2025?
This is, well, let's see if we can click and bring up 2024.
Actually,
this 20, yes.
2024. Okay, I see that.
Yes, our list encompasses 2022, 23, 24, and 25. We've been trying to keep it updated as much as possible so that to make Dotland's job a little easier and easier for us to maintain what we're doing. But back to this form right here, like I say, in 2022, we received 126 complaints. In 2023, there was 146 complaints. 2024, like I was speaking on earlier, we had 197 complaints. And as of today's date, 2020 and 2025, we've had 31 complaints. So we've had a total of 500 complaints in this 4-year span. And additionally, prior to that year, from 2016 to 2021, there were approximately 304 complaints. But back to our form here, we attempted to list the incidents by the COB number as we do our intake. We'd also list the complainant's allegations. This is what the citizens stated, they felt was done. We also went and we interviewed if the police responded with a formal response, which is they consider administrative reports, that's an ART or an IPRO report. that's how they review, like based on the short form. Then we try to put the number of officers that was involved in each complaint per the complainant. We also try to list if the complainant was interviewed. If the police officers interviewed the complainant sometime during their investigation. And then we listed the Internal Affairs Division findings. If they was founded, unfounded, sustained, so on and so forth. And then if there were any additional allegations that the police department found. A lot of the times we found that officers weren't activating the body cameras. That was a lot of initial complaints. And then the disciplinary action, if the body camera, you know, if it was provided to us. If during the course of the investigation, the police department, you know, reviewed and provided the body cameras to us, and then a complaint, comments at the end. If it was closed, it was reclassified as a citizen's contact, or so on and so forth. Does anyone have any questions that I can direct to Louisa?
Michael, would you please just identify what each of these columns is titled?
Okay, we have the COB case number over the COB case number. Then we have the type of case, that's a complaint. We have the ARCH, that's a formal investigation that the police department does into the complaint. The IPRO is the short form investigation. Then we'll go over to the number of officers that was involved in the incident. Then again, if the complainant was interviewed, then we go to Internal Affairs findings. Any additional allegations that Internal Affairs may have found, you know, that's the complainant didn't complain of. And with the disciplinary action taken by the police department, and if the body cameras, if they provide the body camera information to the COB investigators, and then again, the comments.
Excuse me, will each board member receive this?
Would you like to have this report? We certainly can provide it to you.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of really good information.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to also add that, thank you, Marco, for speaking so well today. Marco Lester, investigator Antoine May, and investigator Rick Hudson, they all have worked on documents like this. We have this type of document for all our complaints. So we have the 2022, 23, and 24, and also starting on 25. So Marco had 24, Antoine had 23, and Riddick had 22. So this is what we do in all the complaints we have. So this type of report will be generated at all times. And that's also what we left that to the police department to show them that we were actually looking at everything. And one of the things that came up about the ARCH, they started doing IPRO, like Lester just said, the small version. But when we called to their attention and let them know we're actually looking at everything, to my understanding, they're now seeing over the reports with the supervisor's signature on it, indicating that the supervisor looked at the report before it comes to us now.
I have a couple of questions.
Please ask them.
Okay, so do you have a clear, I guess, method of combining complaints? Like you mentioned that some, maybe a person may submit 2 complaints for the same incident, or will there be like a follow-up complaint? Is there any way that that's noted? Number one. Number two, do you have any, thoughts on why there's 31 complaints in 2 months for 2025 compared to the other historical data? Just a thought, just a question. And then you mentioned if you receive the body camera if they sent the body camera footage over or video over, why is that an if? Should they, if there's video available, should it automatically be sent?
It is automatically sent, but there's times we found out they didn't have their body cameras on or didn't have them turned on. So that means there's disciplinary action that the police department puts on an individual. When we do get the body camera footage, all the investigators look at that before they write a generated report. We're looking at each and everything. Interviews done by audio and video with the complainant, and also the complaints information from the body camera the police officer can provide. So we're looking at everything. And when I would rather have Lester or Answar or Riddick explain about what we do with the combining of the complaints. When y'all want to take on that, answer that question?
Yes, yes. In reference to that, if like two members of the same household make a complaint about the same incident, we'll join those complaints as one. Now, if two members of the same household have different complaints, even if it's relative to the same incident, then that'll be two different complaints. But if it's the same complaint relative to the same incident, then we'll join it as one and proceed with, sending it to the police department where they do their investigation, and then we do our review afterwards.
Okay, but how are we capturing that? And is it ID on the? I'm sorry.
What we'll do, and I didn't explain it. What we'll do is we'll in the first complaint we may reference the second complaint as it being joined together, or if we see like sometimes we may get a duplicate complaint, we'll list it as duplicate, so that on our sheet, and once you receive the Google Sheets, you'll see we do have some that's listed as duplicate complaints. So you'll know. But as far as the other complaints, when the training is finished and you get an opportunity to review the complaints, you'll see reference complaints so and so and so and so. That's the completion of this review or this investigation. So it is noted in the investigative review.
Okay.
Did that answer?
Yeah, I guess I would have to see your graph. I would have to see a chart to see that, and then that'll help. I'll be able to understand it better then.
Okay.
And I'd like to also say, you stated that why we have such a low number right now, but it's only been like 2 months. So if we just got that number only in 2 month period of time, think of how many we'd have by the end of the year. So we still.
Oh no, it's just the opposite. That's a high number. That's a high number. But 31 in 2 months compared to the other years that he mentioned. I was just saying, because if we keep going on that track, we'll have quite a few by the end of the year. I was just asking about if there was sometimes holidays play into a different type of incidents, just looking at the contributing factors.
Well, one of the contributing factors is the fact that we are in our own way marketing ourselves. We're letting more and more people know that we exist. We did not know we existed before. And just by having this type of meeting here, there's individuals who are on the board or from different wards. And so therefore they've spread the news to other individuals in their ward is what we do. And the police department also, when they encounter someone on the street, they will give out our number and our information to as well.
That's a great point. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question about the analysis? So I see that we're categorizing things, allegations based on type, so harassment or discourteousness. Are there also efforts, or have there been efforts to try to do other analysis? So for example, comparing if there's patterns of certain kinds of complaints coming from maybe Mobile Reserve or the 3rd District or North Patrol, or are there also, are we searching for patterns if certain DSNs, certain individual officers are appearing in a statistically abnormal amount of complaints compared to the rest of the force? Is that something that the COB has done?
We're smiling. Some of us are smiling. You're very astute, because that is a factor that our investigators have noted. And when you receive the report that Dotlin is providing, she is specifically stating what the patterns are regarding comparative analysis by years or by periods. And it just was brought to my attention yesterday that there is a situation where we have one person, one officer. There were five situations with the same thing. And Marco, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was go ahead and talk about that. You know more about it specifically than I can convey to Keith in regards to his question.
What we've been able to glean from reviewing the reports, and we are noticing that we are seeing the same names, the same officers repeating the same type of violations and the same type of additional findings that Internal Affairs is finding. And so, yeah, we do have some officers, and we do have some units that are quote unquote repeat, for lack of a better word, repeat offenders. So we are taking note.
So if it is a specialized unit like Mobile Reserve or SWAT team or something like that, there usually is just one person who writes the report. So that name would pop up a lot.
Well, in certain instances, yes, I can understand what you're saying. Right. When we take in consideration that if you're in a high profile unit and you're doing, and that's your job to do certain things, let's say, for lack of a better, let's say a traffic officer. Let's say if you're a traffic officer, of course, you're going to have more encounters with the public, pulling people over, doing traffic stops, so on and so forth. So you have a greater, chance of encountering. But with that, when we're provided with the body camera and additional information, then we can see and make the determination. And Commissioner, is it okay that I share one of the things that I talked with the police department about the officer asking the citizen 11 times? There was a situation where we had a citizen make a complaint on the officer, but upon looking at the body camera, the officer asked the citizen 11 times for a driver's license and insurance card. And then the citizen made a complaint against that officer. Well, we're going to walk down. We're not, we're going to wherever the truth falls. Okay, so we understand that, hey, this officer 11 times they asked for a driver's license and insurance card, and the citizen made the complaint. Well, Internal Affairs unfounded it, and we had an opportunity to agree with Internal Affairs, on that case. But in other cases, where we have some of the officers that are, quote unquote, coming up again and again and again, it's not that situation at all. And you have an opportunity to view and see.
Yeah, and I will say that, of course, with that information being provided as we review, in previous history from what we did when we reviewed those cases, that information wasn't provided to us until after we reviewed the case, of course, to give a fair review of that file, because the last thing you want to do is have it prior to and then have a preconceived notion of the case that you're doing, because you're held to the standard of reviewing the case impartially to whatever the situation is with both of the people that are involved. Okay. You all keep going. I don't know, the commissioner, I know you all were still going in detail.
I think that I'm just wondering, I know Ruby is on this call too. If you would like to comment, Ruby, regarding the protocols.
Good evening. Are you speaking about protocols for civilian oversight with respect to their review of completed cases? I'm not sure I understood your question.
Well, I know that you're working on the protocols. I know you have information from CJC. I would just like for the board to hear what are the aspects of your examination and analysis of the protocols, where you are with this task.
What I received from, I guess it was Interim Commissioner Burris on the flash drive is actually their policies and procedures that they have on their website. And so after reviewing those and in our discussion, I think what we concluded that I might be doing would be establishing those protocols or guidelines that where we are interfacing with corrections. For example, I thought since there have been questions about the dorm unit representative meetings and what's required, a protocol would be setting out those steps, those specific steps that would implement the policies of corrections around that issue. But I wouldn't think necessarily that the Civilian Review Board would be interested in the corrections. I mean, I can go further with my ideas if you like, but those relate specifically to the Detention Facilities Oversight Board and how we can step out guidelines for those. Now, we could begin to also do protocols for the Civilian Oversight Board based on the current policies and procedures they have, as Barb mentioned before. But those policies and procedures, from my understanding, are fairly outdated because we've had several revisions to the ordinances since those guidelines were, since that booklet was prepared under, I think it might have been Nicole Barton's leadership. It was my understanding that there is, or was anyway, a working task group meeting in the mayor's office for just that purpose, to review the current policies and procedures and to develop amendments for this board's review and adoption at some later point. I met with them earlier, but then leadership kind of changed prior to your coming on board, Commissioner. And I'm not quite certain where that task group is in its process at this point. I believe Louisa is currently meeting with the group, and she might be able to enlighten the board as to where they are with the modifications and revisions of COB's policies and procedures.
Yes, when we were meeting with Nicole Barton and the rest of the individuals in the mayor's office, we were working on the DFOB procedures at that time, and the COB, to my knowledge, has not been modified to reflect 71749. I may be wrong in there, but I don't recall us working on that. We just used the model we had before to do the one for DFOB. I would have to give Nicole Barton on that because she's the individual who was kind of over that portion of that section for rewriting the procedures.
Louisa, can you share the membership on that working group?
Oh my goodness! Oh man, I remember all the names.
I can tell you who was there when I was sitting in, but I don't know if there's been some changes.
No, there were no changes made.
Okay, well, I know that Jamela Rogers was working with that. John Chasanoff was on that working group. The policy director for the Board of Aldermen was sitting in. The mayor's boards and commissions liaison was a part of that group. and then you and I interchangeably at some point. So I thought it was a very good working group, and from my participation there was a very thorough review. They were going like point by point through the current manual and looking at the most current ordinances and basically updating them. So I think once that task is completed, we then, Commissioner Mylan, we then can then begin to look at protocols, next steps and guidance for our interface with this board and the police side of our operations.
Thank you, Ruby. I
You're
know I
welcome.
put you on the spot, but I thought it would be helpful to share information with the board today. Madam
Okay.
Chair, I think that concludes our reports for right now, unless there's some questions.
Okay. Is there any questions from any of the board members? Okay, hearing none. I guess we will, of course, go to the next. Well, I guess I'm skipping that one because we're not doing closed session. So new business. Is there any new business directly from the staff? Because I do not believe that we currently have any. The only thing I can think of as of right now, I did see that the Citizens Academy is offering a class, I believe, to start April 15th. So in the event anyone is interested in doing it, I would say that it was a really good experience to learn the things that I learned during that time frame. Of course, it's not required, but they are taking in a class. I do not have that should be it. So the next meeting,
May I interject just one moment, Madam
yeah,
Chairwoman?
yes.
The provision for the closed session was intentionally placed on your agenda because there is a requirement by the ordinance when certain elected officials have asked the board, the division to stay or suspend its investigations on some of our cases. There is now a requirement that that elected official, whether it is the police commissioner, the city councilor, or the circuit attorney, they must now meet or submit a written report to the appropriate board on a monthly basis, explaining, well, basically asking for an update of that stay and telling the board, presenting to the board what conflicts might exist that would prohibit the division from moving forward. I know that we did get a couple of stays that have passed way past the 30-day period, and I thought that Barb Burkett might have a report that she might consider presenting during a closed session. So I just wanted to say that we have been including that language there for just such an opportunity that the board might have to listen to the updates. We have currently we have about 5 cases that we have in suspended status.
Yes.
We sent the written
Yeah.
report. It's the same as the January report. There's no presentation.
I'm sorry, Barb. I didn't hear what you started off saying. We were all talking.
I said our office sent the written report. There's no presentation. It's the same as the January report, which we also sent.
Yeah, I have it in my email, and it
Okay.
has
Well,
myself and the commissioner on it.
I just wanted to note that closed session is there for that purpose. Should the chair decide to want to share the content of a written report, or if the elected official appears before the board, that would be a time and place. We need to develop protocols around that, but I did want the board to know that that is also in our ordinance, and it has an opportunity to receive those updates either in writing or in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do have the emails, and the only reason, well, I guess part of the reason why I didn't address it to go into closed session is mainly because the board members aren't completely trained as of yet. So I wasn't sure if this was something to be even appropriate for them to potentially be a part of as of right now until they complete training, given that they can't hear any cases or anything until after the training is completed. So that's all.
Can I jump in on that piggyback? And I'm a staff member too, and I've been listening intently to the discussions. That piece that Ruby just highlighted is particularly important for us. And the reason is because, you know, our work and the entity itself, the civilian oversight entity, was created through the will of the people. And their expectation was and is that we will now be a resource for accountability where none existed prior. The kinds of cases that get the suspensions, the stays, are precisely the cases that would most compel public interest and concern for resolution, for gathering facts and evidence, for review, and all of those things. A number of those cases that Ruby just cited were cases that I presented or was in the process of presenting. They got hit with the stays, which means stop everything, right? Stop looking, stop asking, stop until further notice. So an explanation for why that action was taken, for what conflict actually exists, for what interference would actually occur if we were to do our jobs is warranted. It's required in the ordinance. And I think it's you all are on solid footing to make sure that you get that report and you get those explanations, because that's particularly important.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jennifer.
I'm so glad he said that, because I'm thinking in terms of transparency, how do we communicate that to the community? How do we look at our community and say, hey, this is a stay? What's the protocol for that? How do we communicate that?
I'm jotting notes. That is a very question. I do not have an answer for you right now.
Well, and I was going to yield to our counsel in reference to that and what Barbara would potentially suggest, given kind of like where we are as of right now.
Well, the ordinance speaks directly about non-interference, because no activities of the oversight division or any of its boards can interfere with criminal investigations, civil litigation. I'm not reading it. I'm just, paraphrasing it. We could pull it up and we could all see the language of the statute. So depending on who you get the report from, if it's from, the circuit attorney, the type of work they're doing, if it's from the city councilor's office, they're doing civil litigation, so they're following what they have to do to let you know that there's civil litigation, there's criminal activity, whatever is going on. I don't know that I mean, we could go back to the 2016 procedures. I don't think you're communicating complaints to people outside, to the public. I'm not really sure I'm understanding that last question.
Okay, maybe I can elaborate on it. If we're saying that we're going to represent the community and that we're going to be accountable to them, as well as the police department speaking of accountability, and we create a website, a dashboard that has metrics on it, there's going to be somewhere in there that someone's going to say, at least I probably was looking at it because I'm a nerd, I probably would say, hey, what happened to this particular case? What happened? Where is that? How can I find out about that? And just saying that it's not there, to me, is not good enough for our community. Am I making sense now?
Well, you are. I don't know that I understood that the dashboard would have any personally identifiable information. I maybe I'm thinking in a different way because I've not seen that. But I mean that would pose a whole lot of other issues. So
Well,
maybe we need to have a conversation about what's on the dashboard. You know, what's the plan for that?
But
no,
even,
I wouldn't think
Jennifer.
that'd be personal. Okay, okay.
even
So Jennifer,
internally, I know with my colleagues, there's sometimes confusion about what constitutes interference. That language itself, interference, is fairly broad to me. Is the gathering of facts and evidence interference? Is reviewing or looking at facts and evidence without public presentation interference? I think sometimes we are also confused about what that is, which is, I think, why I say it's so important for that specific explanation relative case by case. Here's why this stay was issued, because the potential for interference exists in this context based on these circumstances. It would be helpful to us in order for us to understand better how to be good at doing our jobs on behalf of the public we represent.
And I believe, Reddit, that was what the alders were intending to create a mechanism for determining. That provision was included in the most recent ordinance, 71749, requiring the monthly reporting to the board for just that reason. That the language can be subjective, and when we have received them, of course we want to work with our fellow agencies and comply with the ordinance. And so when we get the request, we get the notification and the request to suspend any and all activities relative to a particular investigation. And of course, what's relevant here are the cases that are being investigated by the police department in some instances, but also might be involved in civil litigation in the city councilor's office. And so the provision in the ordinance specifically requires the police commissioner, the city councilor, and the circuit attorney to report either in person or send a staff person or present a written report to the chairperson. And I'm assuming also with copies to the commissioner. And so from what I'm hearing from Chairwoman Simmerl, unless and until she receives some guidance on how to proceed, we may as well not be including these closed sessions, because that's the reason why they were on your agenda today and why they were on before. So we do need a protocol or something for moving forward. And just as the board was able to review the spreadsheets that are required, that Marco has just shared with you, as well as data in the annual and accountability reports that Dotland is working on. We would not expect that specific personally identifiable information would be included in the elected officials' presentations, but just to give us an update on where they are with their investigation, so that we have some way of planning and moving forward with our own. So that's kind of, I was hoping that maybe we'd get some guidance from Barb with respect to that, but I'm not sure. Since I don't know that I may have seen a written report that came from the city councilor, but I wasn't even certain if it even really met the requirements of the provision. So I was kind of waiting and hoping we'd get some guidance back from the city councilor's office on that. That's all I have.
Okay, so thank you. So just to answer that, I received the email today at 1:14 p.m. in reference to the remaining stays. The previous one I did have, but I was not aware that that was potentially what needed to be discussed in closed session. However, with knowing that now, that is something that we could potentially do and potentially move it further up on the agenda for us to be able to set aside that time instead of having it further down at the bottom. But I am open to doing that. So then that way we can be able to proceed and share that information, be able to communicate everything that we're able to. And if there are any questions regarding it, because I guess with my perception of it, of course, like by the new board members not completing training and knowing the different, I can't assume all of them know the sustained, unfounded, all the different language in reference to those cases, as well as the review of the cases with the COB. I guess I'm thinking more so like, okay, throwing them in and then saying, okay, well, here, we're going to give you this information, but they haven't completed everything. It kind of leaves it a little bit muddy, that's all. But I'm fine with it. We could do it I guess we could look at the calendars and see when we want to do the next meeting, or if we want to do a quick turnaround meeting. I'm open to either one. So then that way we could at least resolve it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
as the board considers the next meeting, if it is at all possible for us to establish a schedule for the year for the meetings, this would be very helpful to support the various functions that we seek to provide in our reports and analysis to the board. If we know when we're going to be meeting with COB each month would be very helpful.
Yeah, and I was going to ask Keith and Derek, I thought we picked when we were doing that in our initial meeting, when we first got started, that we chose which day we were going to stick with going forward through the calendar year. I thought we did that last year.
We may have talked about it. I don't think we finalized for sure.
Okay, so I guess let's do that. So are we okay with picking like what day of the week works? Because usually I reserve the fourth Monday for these because they've been on that same day for the past 10 years. Is there any other day during the week or something that may work for everybody else?
If I remember,
This is a Wednesday. I'm sorry. I just noticed you have a quorum. So
yeah.
I know in the very beginning we did talk about Mondays, but I think Derek you had a problem with the time that we were going to start.
Yeah, fourth Mondays are bad for me because I already have meetings planned for that night.
Correct.
Every month.
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I think, what was it? We looked at what, like a third Monday or something potentially?
I'm sorry, Sierra, before we move on, can I actually, had my hand raised about the last point, and I wanted to mention
okay,
that before
sorry,
we
go
get into
ahead.
scheduling. Okay, so just, we were talking about, how would I rephrase it? We were talking about cases that were being held from investigation by an outside body. And there was a conversation about, because we're trying to be accountable to our fellow community members, how do we reflect that? And there was a mention that maybe on the dashboard, there might be cases and people would know. And like City Councilor, is it Burkett? Is that correct, ma'am?
yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I also don't think that personally identifiable information will be on there, but I do think that as Investigator Hudson told us, these are some of the most important cases, and it would be really concerning if the data from them is pulled out in our analysis, because it might not allow us to see patterns that actually exist, because these might be some of the most egregious cases. And for that reason, I would hope that in any public release of data, there is a very clear note about the manner of cases and number of cases that are being excluded because the investigations were held up. Does that make sense? So for example, police shootings might be held up. And if we are systemically pulling those from the data, I think it makes sense for us to note that in our methodology in a place where the public can see it. Otherwise, we might get an incorrect idea of what is happening within the police department.
No,
So I
I
would just hope
agree.
that,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
as we're doing the
That makes
analysis, we're
sense.
mentioning that to people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and now we can get back to talking about our scheduling.
Okay, so how do you all feel about like a third Monday of the month?
I could do that.
I can do that.
Okay. All right. What about Keith, Harrison?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it looks like we could go with the third Monday of the month, which it looks like this month we have more Mondays I'm looking at. So that would put us, oh, that's St. Patrick's Day on the 17th of this month. Well, no, I'm sorry, because we're going into, yeah, that'll put us on St. Patrick's Day in March. So I guess so can we say after the March that we can proceed with the third Monday of the month? But I'm assuming that, trying to think, is everything, well, I think everything's still open on St. Patrick's Day, or is it?
I'd assume
It is.
so.
Yeah. Okay, so
Might
what do you
keep
all,
all of us out of trouble to just be here.
you said just be here on St. Patrick's Day? I mean, I'm open to it. I mean, I'm fine with having it where we can resume. We could do our next meeting on March 17th, of course, given anything that comes up prior to that, right? So,
Madam Chair,
yes.
just a point of information that the trainings in March are scheduled the 3rd, the 7th, and the 10th. And so everything, so March 10th would not work.
Oh, no, we said March 17th.
March 17th.
Yeah, that's St. Patrick's Day.
Okay. Okay.
So if we go with the third Monday of every month, that'll be our consecutive meeting, and then that'll put us right on schedule for going forward.
Chair, do you want to poll your members to see if they would be able to come on St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, how do you all feel about March 17th being our next meeting?
That works for me.
Jennifer, Keith, Derek.
Perhaps another day that in March would be better.
Okay.
I'm usually always in the parade in Dogtown, so
Wow.
So,
yeah, not sure if you want to see me after that.
well, I was gonna say you might need a week to recover after that. Let's see, because I was gonna say maybe the 18th of March, but let's see. Or yeah, how is the 18th? Are you all okay with maybe doing it that Tuesday, but then we do the third Monday going forward after that?
That's fine by me.
I actually have something on my calendar that day. Is it maybe Wednesday the 19th is clear?
You said Wednesday the 19th. We should be okay for that. I don't see anything on my schedule right now for that day. Okay, Jennifer and Keith and Harrison, how do you all feel about March 19th being the next meeting?
Are we saying 4 to 6? Or is that right?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
just stick with that time for right now.
I can do that.
Okay. So we'll do March 19th from 4 to 6 approximately for the next meeting. And then after that, we'll stick with the third Monday of the month.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Staff is pointing something out to me regarding the March schedule, and apparently we have something on the 17th and the 19th. Okay, we have training scheduled with CJC on March 17th, and what was the other day? The 19th is good.
Okay, the 19th is good. Okay. Okay, so March 19th from 4, at least starting at 4 o'clock because we don't know how long it's going to go, but 4 o'clock for that. And then are we okay after that for the third Monday of every month to be reserved for our meetings?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm almost wondering well, I guess I don't need a motion for that. And Commissioner, you all have that information documented?
Yes, we do. We have all the
Okay.
dates to the end of the year. And we'll send that information to you. We will send you the dates for the 2025 meetings along with the analysis that Marco provided this evening.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like, did anyone have any other questions or concerns this evening?
I guess my only concern is, are we going to get city emails addresses instead of using personal emails addresses?
You don't have one, Brad?
I don't have a city email address anymore. Mine was dead a long time ago.
Oh, I still have mine.
Yeah, mine's dead.
Okay, this is
Okay.
new information for me. So all of COB board members are to have a city email address.
They should have the city email address. Yes.
Okay, we'll follow up on that
All right.
and get that established.
If you can reactivate mine, that'll be great.
Okay.
Yeah, Nicole helped me reactivate mine because they kicked me off a few times. Okay, and Brad, those dates are good for you?
I'm sorry?
The dates
Yeah,
that we selected, are those dates good for you?
Yeah, that's-
Okay, because
yeah.
I didn't remember if I heard you or not.
Yeah, right now
Okay,
they're
cool.
fine.
All right. Okay, cool. All right, if we don't have any other questions or concerns this evening, I'm trying to double check and make sure no one's hands are raised. We can adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn our meeting for today?
I motion.
Is
I'll
there a
second
second?
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Everybody, I'll reach out, I guess, to the staff in reference to us developing something for how we can transition that information, okay?
Bye, everyone.
Commissioner.
Have a good
All
evening.
right, good night.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.